guys, my name is Grace Litzau, and I'm a freshman at Creighton University. This year we have to do something called the Everyday Intellect Project in our English class, so let's get started. Alright, so let me tell you a little bit about the project. It's called the Everyday Intellect Project, and our professor asked us to choose a community on campus and spend a little time with them. So when Dr. Kataika brought up the Everyday Intellect Project and mentioned that you had to choose a community, I knew I wanted to do something with volunteering because I think that's just such an important way to meet people on campus, and I love doing it, so it was a good idea. And my roommate had found out about this program called the SAVE Tutoring Program that meets every other week, and it buses in elementary kid students from around the area to meet with us so we can help them with their homework and just kind of get to know them. So my dad is a high school teacher back home, and he has really installed into me the importance of education, and as I was trying to figure out something that could help me get involved but also work for this project, I thought that this program would be a really good opportunity. Another reason I really thought that this would be a perfect opportunity for me was in high school I spent a lot of time tutoring elementary kid students in my area, and I just think it's so rewarding to see the students progress and how they get closer to you, and it's also a great way to build relationships and really get to know the people around you. It kind of pops a little bubble, and you can kind of escape campus for a little bit and see the world around you. So the SAVE mission statement is connect underserved youth with opportunities and resources to be successful students and active individuals, and this is really important in understanding the program. You might be wondering a little bit more about the program itself. The SAVE program was founded by a guy named Kevin Melcher who grew up in the Omaha area and experienced poverty. He understands what it's like to be a student who is struggling, and he really wanted to help the community around him and the future of the Omaha area. So he works in conjunction with Coach Gordy on campus, and they founded this program together to bus elementary kid students from around the area between the age of 8 and 12 onto campus so that they can be connected with a mentor who is our age, and that's where we come in, and get help with homework and be with us and see what campus is like. In exchange for coming to the tutoring program, the SAVE program awards these students money, scholarships for extracurriculars so they can participate in sports and music and kind of learn how to be a whole person and develop skills beyond just the classroom. One of the objectives of the Everyday Intellect Project is to really define what intellect means in this setting, and the definition of everyday intellectualism that we were given at the beginning of this project is knowledge of everyday life. And one of the ways that this is shown through the program is their language. Now, obviously, this is kind of a traditional academic, and we focus on academics, but it bridges the gap between the classroom and kind of a more social environment, so learning is fun. So by taking the learning outside of the traditional classroom, the students are able to learn in a different way, and it kind of pulls away from this academic discourse, which is a concept we talk about in class. And there was a reading we read by Gerald Graff called The Problem and Other Oddities of Academic Discourse. And this discusses kind of how students get bogged down by the language they learn in class, and sometimes it makes them more confused. So oftentimes what a tutor has to do is see the homework that a student brings in, and they have to break it down on a more concrete level using visuals or a different kind of concept that the student might understand. Now this proved to be an immediate challenge for me. On the first day, there was a student who came in and I was working with him, and he was working on percents and changing percents into fractions and fractions into percents. The way he was taught is talking about, well, what's per 100, and I think he got kind of bogged down by this idea of per and this word per, and this academic discourse kind of made him more confused than he could have been if it was explained in another way. So I really had to think about what's an example he would understand. So I thought about, well, pizza. The student understands when their parents buy a pizza, it's just a circle and it's cut into eighths, or it's cut into some different amount, and so they could kind of visually see that when you take a slice away, then you are left with 7/8 or something like that, and it kind of makes a more concrete understanding of what a percent is, like what per a whole means. And this often happens with tutors, is you have to think about a different way to explain something to students that they might not have understood in the classroom. After this first day, I was talking to some other tutors, and I think everyone kind of struggled with this changing academic discourse into kind of a more civilian language. As we were talking, we were all kind of like, as college students, you don't really think about percents because you've done it so many times that you don't really have to put any thought into it. So it's really difficult to think about, well, how did I learn that, and how could it be easier for a student to learn it in this way than maybe what they were taught in class. Since I discovered that a lot of the other tutors also struggle with this explaining academic discourse, we've kind of created this secret camaraderie, and I've noticed it with expressions. In the hour and a half that we're typically with the students, we don't get a lot of time to talk to each other as tutors, so we have to kind of create this secret language where we look up and make eye contact and show expressions to kind of communicate with each other. In this way, we aren't explicitly saying what we're thinking, especially when a student that we're with is being a little bit difficult, like they're refusing to do their homework, or they're giving attitude, or they're just being funny. We will look up and make eye contact with another tutor to kind of show this, because we can't necessarily say it. There was one day the student I was working with got done with his homework, so we played tic-tac-toe. And I know that when I was little, I always wanted to win, and so my grandma always let me win, and that's who I always played with. So I let the kid I was working with win, and I looked up, and one of the tutors was giving me this glance like, what are you doing? And afterwards, he asked me, did you let him win? And it's kind of just this, in the middle of the tutoring, it's a way for us to kind of keep contact with each other. I noticed that this body language is our main form of communication, and it's the best way for tutors to talk with each other during our session. The way that tutors communicate with the students and with each other represents a deeper level of care for the well-being of everyone in the room. By breaking down concepts and really getting to know the students, sometimes the students are able to see the tutor's struggle, and in this way they kind of are encouraged to persevere, because if we can do it, then obviously they can do it. And sometimes when we struggle, they're able to understand that everyone's human and everyone makes mistakes, so it really connects us on a deeper level. Also, the expressions that the tutors share are oftentimes a way of saying like, hey, I feel ya, or yeah, it's alright, and it's a way of us reassuring each other to make sure that we kind of get through the tutoring session. Another part of the project is to create a visual representation of the space that our community meets in, and the SAVE program meets in the Harper Center in room 3023. So let me show you the map of the room I created. Here's the key. Golden circular magnets represent the important people, or the people with authority. The magnet with the M represents Kevin Melcher, the founder and director of SAVE. The magnet with the G represents Coach Len Gordy, who works in the Creighton Intercultural Center and helped start the program. Magnets with T's show the students' teachers who come with them on program days as supervisors. Filled black circles represent the students. Filled black circles with pink crowns show the tutors. All students and tutors face each other sitting around a table, which is represented by the large circles. Blue dots are placed on the snack table to show the boxes of snacks that are donated by a local food bank and brought for the students to enjoy. The bag of fun is shown by the black box filled with green circles. In this bag, there are coloring pages, supplemental worksheets for students without homework, games such as Uno, and candy for the students who work hard during the session. The doors are located on the right-hand side of the room and lead into the hallway of 3rd floor Harper, which inevitably at least 10 kids will ask to leave out in order to take a bathroom break. And finally, the purple rectangles show the student behavior sheets that are filled out by the tutors at the end of each session. These forms include the tutor's name and all the names of the students at the table. Next to each student's name are 2 columns. The first asks, does the student have homework? The tutor will have to ask each student if they have homework and enter either a yes or a no in this column. The second column asks if the student put in an A effort for that day. Again, the tutor will have to make a decision of whether they did put in an A effort or not and mark yes or no. This is where the incentive comes in for the students. They know that if they work hard and are given an A, they will be able to participate in the game time or fun time at the end and will get some candy also. This is a form of communication between the tutors and the aforementioned important people to ensure everyone stays on task. To start, I want to point out that this is a very large classroom that has a kind of traditional academic learning sort of vibe. For example, there is a blackboard in the front and sometimes there's a lectern kind of off to the right. I wanted to draw attention to this because although these are reminiscent of the traditional qualities of the room, being a classroom, they are the only reminder of formal learning in the room. Another thing of note in the space is that all tables have students and tutors facing inward rather than facing towards the front like in a classroom. This is to show the natural intimacy and connection between tutors and students, because although tutors aren't the students' peers, they are young, cool kids with different experiences, and the students are adorable, sweet kids most of the time. We are mutually fascinated by each other, which maintains our engagement. The most interesting part of the space layout is where the important people and teachers are. They all tend to congregate either in the back or near a door. They seem to watch over what's happening. Now, this guarding the door and Hawkeye-like watch over us could be seen as authoritative, and in some ways it probably is, but for the most part, this is a way for the tutors to take charge and the adults to let us build our own relationship with the students. This also represents the bridge into a different way of learning that separates the notion of school from learning and encourages the students to learn for learning's sake rather than because they have to. In this way, both students and tutors are able to experience community in a new way by connecting to new parts of Omaha without adults standing in the way. Now, although the food starts in the back, the first thing students do when they come is tear into the boxes. After seconds, the cleanliness of the room turns into crumbs and the snacks are eaten. The food is always taken by the students, but almost is never taken by the tutors or the adults. This represents the level of care we all have for the students. We obviously want them to get all that they need, so we don't take any. But for real, the food is donated, so there are many facets of the community working together, kind of representing how we can all benefit from each other. Through the program, Creighton students are able to become part of the larger Omaha community and build a potential future for Creighton campus by working with the students. By working with the students, the Creighton tutors are embodying one of the Jesuit values that is fundamental to the Creighton mission statement, and this value is men and women formed with others, which is known as the spirit of giving, service, and solidarity with those in need, recognizing that all humans have physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. And this is one of the bases of the Korean community and is embodied by the tutors. In addition to the tutors' care for the community and the futures of these kids, there is a very obvious connection to the different levels of intellectualism discussed by Antonio Gramsci in his article on intellectuals. In this article, Gramsci offers merit to all kinds of intellectualism, even those we don't traditionally consider. He recognizes traditional intellectuals as people such as students, professors, doctors, and lawyers, but he also recognizes what he calls inorganic intellectuals. These people are people who get their hands dirty and learn by feel. Gramsci notices the validity of both of these groups, arguing that their intellectualism is equally important to our society. In the SAVE program and in current day in general, I would argue that there is a large blending of the two types of intellectuals. Although SAVE students and tutors both technically represent traditional intellectuals, they also represent inorganic intellectualism and what they know that's specific to their experience. Based on the hands-on connection between students and tutors, tutors are able to understand how to explain academic discourse, and this is a useful skill that we did not explicitly learn but developed through experience. To wrap up, I want to emphasize the unity among students and tutors by alluding to a narrative of Jesus Lopez entitled I Left Mora Leone at Daybreak with Great Sadness. In this recountant, Lopez discusses leaving his family and sense of familiarity in Mexico to destroy the never-ending cycle of poverty he experienced by journeying to the United States. Lopez discusses the sacrifices he made in the name of the ones he loves. Now, the story of us tutors and the students might not necessarily be so profound. Both parties make sacrifices in the name of someone or something they love. The students sacrifice their freedom during these tutoring sessions so they can benefit themselves and change the course of their family by enriching their education and taking advantage of opportunity. The tutors are from all different places and are studying all different things, but when there's a session, we give up studying time or other things time to be with these students because of our love for the community. The mutual sacrifice shows a deeper relationship between students and tutors and symbolizes our importance to the larger community of Omaha. To conclude, I'll leave you with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Keep this in mind as you consider the world around you. Thanks for watching.